Welcome back to the Meeple Marathon and our continued coverage of Massive Darkness 2. Today we're going to be looking at the 3D scenery you can pick up for the game. I'm going to give you my opinion on each one and how functional it is in the game, so you can make a better, more informed decision if you are looking to purchase some of the 3D scenery. So let's just start with everything in the front here and we'll go through it. And again, everything here replaces a cardboard token in the base game. So it's not like you are going without doors or treasure chests or traps. If you don't have the 3D scenery, you're just giving your game some depth with the 3D scenery. So the first thing we have here are our chests. Now these are really nice because they're pretty small. They don't take up a lot of room. Very easy to paint. If you have a brown, a nice flat brown primer or airbrush, then that's what I did with these. I just basically sprayed everything in a flat brown primer and then went over with just some silver and none all here and some gold and can't remember, I think maybe Agrax Earthshade here. But the thing with the treasure chests is that they, you get a lot of them, but in the cardboard token versions, the opposing side, the flip side of them, has the type of treasure that you are going to gain. All of the smaller treasure chests here, this size, are going to come with 2 treasures, and all of the bigger, nicer ones here are going to come with 3 treasures. What's nice though is that they're always the same, so it's always going to be 2 green or 2 blue, and this one's always going to be 2 or 3 blue or 3 purple. So what I have done here, see if you can see that, is just gone ahead and painted the inside. They provided stickers for every other randomized piece of 3D scenery, and we'll see those here in a minute. I don't know why they didn't produce one or some for the treasure chest. Now I know that would have been a lot of stickers, but I can't imagine stickers being too expensive. I realized that they made these hollow to save on some money, so maybe it would have been difficult to get a sticker down there, but anyways, this serves its purpose of me picking this one up and knowing, all right, I'm going to get 2 green treasures, me picking this one up, and I'm going to get 3 blue treasures. You just need to make sure that you are coloring them in the same ratio that the cardboard tokens exist in. Okay. Our next 2 items here are our traps. We have a bear trap here and a spike trap. Basically, these just, hurt you for the most part, make you lose actions, things like that. There's a couple duds. Like I think one of the bear traps is a dud that wouldn't actually trigger. But these here, you can see they provided you with stickers on the bottom, because for the cardboard tokens on the underside, it would tell you lose 1 action or lose 1 health. This one says 1 wound, so on and so forth. So these are nice because they provide depth to your map, and you're going to remove these anyways. So it's not like they are taking up much space, or you're going to have to figure out how to put a lot of miniatures around them. Unfortunately though, the mob miniatures don't trigger the traps. So if you're moving a mob across the board, you are going to have to get them around these, because obviously you can't put a miniature on top of those. I guess maybe you could try. Yeah, there you go. But anyways, when your characters, the heroes, make it on here, you're basically going to flip them over and then remove them from the board. So they're not going to take up a whole lot of space once they've been triggered. All right. So far, I kind of like the treasure chest. It's a little annoying that I had to paint the inside, that they didn't come with stickers. I really do like the traps because I feel like the underside here is really nicely done with the stickers. Once you've painted them up, again, it really provides a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for here? You're just really into the game. Provides a immersion. That's the word I'm looking for. It provides a lot more immersion when these are sitting on the board and you're trying to get around them. All right, next up here is the bridge. And I really set these up in no particular order here, but the bridge is the one piece of scenery that I am really not sold on. And I'm going to tell you why here. I'm going to move these things out of the way. I'm going to put this more front and center here. Now, the bridges almost always are also spawn points for the mobs and the roaming monsters, which means they're going to have, if you have the 3D scenery pack, one of these portals on them. All right, this is a standard portal. We'll talk about these here in a little bit. And this is the roaming monster portal. It's supposed to be purple, but either way, if you have one of these on the bridge, this portal takes up the entire bridge. If you're then asked to spawn some monsters, even if you are playing solo, you still have to spawn 2 mob monsters and a leader. Well, look, you've run out of room. Because the bridges are created to look like bridges, which I feel like aesthetically they are really nice. It's a really nice, piece of scenery. It's solid, but it's got these curved tops, ends to it. So it curves down, it curves down. It's a very realistic looking bridge, but it is not functional on the game table. And on top of that, even if, because a lot of times the bridges just go off into nothing. So I've been setting the portal out off to the side right here. So then in this instance, say you are playing just a 2-player or solo game, 2-hero or solo game, you can probably squeeze 3 guys on here, but you're definitely not getting more than that. And if you happen to draw, say, the Fallen Angels mob, well, now you're not getting anywhere close to everything on this piece. So this is what this is replacing. So this is the cardboard bridge, and this one is much more functional. I can set this one here. I can get a decent number of miniatures on them. Yes, they're kind of hanging off the edge, but they all fit on there. They all fit in that zone. They all fit in that space. So for me, the bridges are the least functional piece of scenery in the game, simply because it's just way too hard to balance 3 miniatures on there plus a portal and anything else. So there you have it. There is my opinion on the bridge. But unfortunately, the bridges come in the same packs as the doors. And the doors are easily, in my opinion, the most useful piece of scenery. If you were going to pick up one pack, I would say get the 3D doors and bridges pack. Again, I just gave you my opinion on the bridges, but the doors make it so much easier to tell, all right, where the rooms are, where the entrances are. It's so easy to overlook the little door tokens. I feel the same way about Zombicide, that it's harder to tell when they're open and closed. And these doors are quite nice because they actually swing open and will stay open. So you can have an open and shut door here. And there is some variety. This is just 2 of the, I believe, 4 different styles of doors. But the fact that they actually swing open and closed and stay that way is really nice. And so as far as giving your board immersion, giving your map immersion, and giving it some depth, I highly recommend the doors because these are really nice doors. The only bad thing about them is the fact that one side or the other, you're going to have this base part of the door here. So it does take up a little room in the zone, and it's kind of hard to stick a miniature on there. It might fall over, or if the door is open, you really can't stick a miniature in there. But take that as you will. Nothing is perfect. That's really my only gripe about the doors, but I don't think you could have a door without some sort of little base on it that would take up a portion of the zone. And again, unfortunately, you're not going to get the doors without having to also get the bridges, which, if you're like me, you may just keep in the box the whole time. All right, and then we have our pillars here. The pillars come in a pack with the chests. So you're going to get a pack that's a whole bunch of chests. I think it's like 20 some, and then about 6 pillars. The pillars are nice because pillars, the cardboard token version of the pillars, is probably the one thing that I, while I was painting up my scenery and just using the cardboard tokens, it's probably the one thing I missed or overlooked in the gameplay the most. The pillars, because the cardboard token is basically just this, very nondescript, just this kind of square. It's easily overlooked. You forget to apply the rules that are there for line of sight with the pillars and things like that. So this, yes, it doesn't get removed when mobs or heroes enter the zone, so it does take up some space in the zone, but it does definitely help you remember that there's a pillar there, and you should apply the line of sight rules that have to do with the pillar. And these are super easy to paint up too, similar to the chests, which were just a brown primer with just then some silver and gold. This one is just a gray primer here, none oil over all of the kind of gargoyle and artistic spots here, and then a dry brush of some kind of skull color. Screaming skull, I believe, is what I used here on the skulls on the bases, and then bam, you're done. So super easy to paint and get to the table. Again, comes with a super easy set of treasure chests to have, and so this is another great pack that I feel like would be good to pick up. Obviously you're not going to be overlooking treasure chests if you've got these, but again, the pillar I think is very helpful to have on the table. All right, and then last but not least, we have the I forget what the box was called, but basically a box with all of the fountains here, the portals, and our traps. So you're going to have a box of this. So this is the most fun scenery. This is the scenery that I was most excited about when getting, but really kind of fell in love with the doors, felt like the pillars were very functional. I really do love the look of the portals, especially now that I've painted them up, and I'm going to share with you how I painted them here in just a second. But again, they take up so much room in a zone, especially if that zone is just a bridge tile, that they're not always super functional, but I love the look of them on the table. Also, the fountains here, again, the fountains just kind of take up some space. Now these you do remove after someone has used the fountain, so it's really nice aesthetically just sitting there, but it's not always practical if you're trying to fit like a mob into that zone as well. Again, these two things in the back here, the portals and the fountains, I feel like are really nice, but are rather large. Not take up a lot more room than just, say, the traps here. But they all come in the same pack. So if you want to have the coolest set of scenery, then I would definitely go with that, because this adds a lot of bling and immersion to your scenery. Doors, are not super fancy. They're just doors at the end of the day, but they're super functional. Same thing with chests and pillars, more functional than fancy. This is fancy. Now, let me share with you how I went about painting these up. Some of you may be familiar with these paints. Others may be just discovering them like I did recently. So I painted these with a line from Turbo Dork here. These are their Turbo Shift paints. These are, not cheap paints, and it takes, some very specific instructions, each of which are applied on the side of the bottle here, so you can understand this one needs a black undercoat. I believe all of these need a black undercoat, but some of them need a white undercoat. Some of them need a, shaded undercoat, whatever it may be. But basically for my two portals here, my green portal, and then I went with the 3D glasses for the purple portal. I know that this one isn't really purple. It kind of became more on the blue side, but it's very distinguishable from this one, which I feel like turned out really well. And so I can easily, this is the roaming monster portal. This is all the other basic portals, but you can see that they create this kind of almost like those holographic stickers that I used to always love to get from the 80s and early 90s, that as you move them, the shape, it almost pops. It's almost like there is some actual dimension to this portal here. And I'm realizing that I had one piece set aside. This, we'll talk about this here in a second, but this is also in the kind of Darkbringer scenery pack, specific, the anvil. I had set that guy aside and forgot to pull him out. And then we have the fountain here. The fountain here, I used the blue Ice to Never. Now there's several different shades of blue. There's actually a huge line of these Turbo Shift paints. These are just the ones that I happen to have, and so I decided to use. So you can see here that the water of the fountain has this very shimmery look to it. As the light hits it in various places, it gives it almost some depth and really pairs nicely with the gold. So for these three, I primed them each in black because that's what the Turbo Shift needed. For the portals, I basically just came by with a bone colored dry brush so that the black sits in the recesses and makes all of those individual bones pop out. And then I basically just came in with the Turbo Shift and painted, I think, 3 layers on each one of these. I think maybe 4 for the purple here, just trying to get it really to, this is what it comes out if you put enough layers on it. It sits more in that spectrum, I feel like. It doesn't quite get into the purple, but this one I feel like works really well. And then this one again was primed in black. I put the Turbo Shift down where the water is, and then just trimmed, followed around all the trim in gold here. All right, and then last but not least is the anvil. So anvil is another thing that I feel like is pretty useful, and it's nice that it isn't huge. You can see it compared to, if I move these back here, compared to like the fountain and the portals here, it doesn't take up nearly as much space. It actually takes up less space even than like some of the traps. So this is actually one of the nicer pieces of scenery because you can plop it down, and in most cases you're always going to want to know where the forge is, so you can go and trade in your useless items and hopefully get lucky on an upgrade, things like that. And also this doesn't take up too much room on the table when you're starting to move miniatures into that zone. This one was also very easy to paint. I just gray primed it. I painted up the hammer on top here with some silver and wood colors, and then I nuln oiled, I can never say that word, nuln oiled all of this here, because you can see there's actually some like texture all over it, but only in very specific areas on the base, and then kind of all over, and then not on top. So after I put the nuln oil in there, then I came through with I think just 1 or 2 passovers of the 3D glasses. So it just gives it a little bit of sparkle. Again, the 3D glasses only really starts to do its thing in the recesses where the shading sits. So it's not overpowering, but again, I thought it was just a nice touch. I already had these Turbo Shift paints on hand, so I was like, why not? Let's give this scenery a whole lot of bling. So anyways, hopefully this video has been helpful for anybody considering purchasing some of this 3D scenery, or has their 3D scenery still sitting in a box and is curious as to which boxes they should actually crack open. Again, if I were to pick just one box to purchase, that would be the Doors pack here. Unfortunately, it comes with what I feel like is the most useless piece of scenery, and that's the bridges. After that, I'm probably gonna go with this because it's such a nice set of scenery, varied things here, and just again adds a lot of immersion to it. But don't sleep on the pillars and treasure chests pack, just for their functionality and ease of getting to the table painted as well. So that's going to do it for my review of the 3D scenery from Massive Darkness 2. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. And if you'd like to see more content like this in the future, please consider subscribing to the channel. Once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.